Ну, обидно. Может, и нет.
Dr. Atlas, okay? A guy with no pandemic experience. He literally would know more if he stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. He's saying, hey, you in Michigan, these measures to help try to control the spread, fight back. Are you kidding me? Shame on you. What kind of doctor would tell people to rise up and resist the only kind of prophylaxis that can help them? What the hell is the matter with this person? Rise up. You rise up and do your job or get the hell out. How could you give this kind of advice? Of course Fauci was being measured. He says, I don't agree with his position. This isn't Fauci's fight. The science is obvious. This is about Trump and the Trumpers. He's going to have his main health guy stand up and say, fight back against the regulations to keep you safe? Listen to him. I'm not making it up.
And this kind of isolation is one of the unspoken tragedies of the elderly, who are now being told, don't see your family at Thanksgiving. For many people, this is their final Thanksgiving, believe it or not. What are we doing here?
What the hell are you doing here? Yeah, it could be their last Thanksgiving. If you expose them to people who aren't wearing masks, who aren't socially distancing, and haven't been doing so, and haven't gotten tested, because they somehow think they don't want to get in on the con of COVID. You know, you want to hide on state news, you do it. But someday, you're going to have to deal with real questions. And either you're going to come on a show or you're going to do it, but you know what? We may go back to old school. And maybe the questions will come find you. Maybe when you're living your life nice and easy, because you don't have the concerns that these same people that you're telling to rise up, that they have. Maybe the questions will come and find you, because you have to answer for that kind of guidance, let alone as a doctor. Do no harm? Invite grandma? This could be her last Thanksgiving? Yeah, if you invite her to a place where she can get sick and die. Thanksgiving's right around the corner, and you know what? We do have to think about what we're thankful for. And we also have to think about what we're thankful for getting past, okay? Because this ignoring the science, this is crazy. We're past 11 million cases. It'll disappear in the spring. It only took 6 days for 1 million more to get sick. It had taken dozens of days. It had taken weeks and weeks. Now it just took us a week. Why? Because we're not all together as ever, as one, fighting with a desperation that is what you must have before the vaccine. 65 days or a lifetime for too many people in this country. That's how long Trump has left. Trumpers, remember you took an oath to this country and your constituents, not to him. Do your damn job.
Морщины, выпадение волос, снижение остроты зрения и слуха, боли в суставах и в спине, быстрая утомляемость. Многие люди старше 45 лет сталкиваются.
Tonight, the grim milestone of the coronavirus crisis, but new hope for a vaccine. The staggering toll of the U.S. topping 250,000.
Hello, Corey here from the Boxcar channel. I have a very interesting video for you today. This is a video on correct arpeggio technique. So, let's take the thumb and put it on C. The second finger will go on E. The third finger on G. Now, many of you who know how to play arpeggios already are in the habit of or have learned to do a large arm motion with the elbow, to bring the elbow out in order to get the thumb under to go to C, in order to go to the other octave like this. So many of you have learned, and it's very traditional, many teachers teach this. After you play 3, a fairly liberal arm motion with the elbow goes out, the thumb goes under, and the same when you're coming back, the third finger goes over the thumb, the arm goes out. Okay? This might come as a shock to you, but actually I believe this is not an efficient way to play and actually is incorrect. The better thing to do is to use more of your wrist and less of your elbow. It's a much more efficient way of playing arpeggios. So, watch this. After you play 3, the wrist goes over a little to allow the thumb to go under. Not a whole lot of motion with the upper arm. About 90% of the motion is with the wrist laterally rotating, allowing the thumb to go under, to go to C. Now you're up.
Tesla Model V is a vertical takeoff and landing electric aircraft, which the founder of Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and Solar City is going to build in 5 years. We've collected all there is to know in this one video. You'll definitely want to watch this one to the end. Unknown project Elon Musk, Tesla Model V aircraft. Shocks away. There are legends about the Tesla aircraft for a long time now. However, the concept on the screen is not created by Elon Musk, but the industrial designer Tom Abbott Davies, who hoped to get an internship at Tesla. The plan failed, but the concept was liked by Musk, who wrote on Twitter, "Looks pretty cool." The inventor himself did the first calculations for an electric airplane over 10 years ago. In 2008, he stated that the idea would be feasible with the development of electric battery technologies. In 2012, Musk said the design for the project is ready. In the 14th and 15th, he abandoned it. And in 2016, he said it would create a vertical takeoff and landing plane. And in 2017, he again abandoned the project. Interestingly, back in 2015, a concept electric aircraft, Airbus EFAN, has successfully flew from English Lida to the French city of Calais, thus flying about 65 kilometers over the channel. In 2018, at the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, Musk remembered the plane again. He admitted that he had long ago calculated the energy density for lithium-ion batteries needed to take off such a device, and it should be at least 400 watts per 1 kilogram of weight, and ideally all 500 watts. Batteries for the electric cars at that time only offered 250 watts per kilogram. In February 2019, Tesla acquires the battery company Maxwell Technologies. During a presentation at the Needham Growth Conference, Maxwell Technologies said it could offer 300 watts per kilogram of battery. The company also said it considered it possible to reach 500 watts per kilogram. Musk continued this discussion of the project on Twitter this last summer, talking about the advantages of electric batteries as a source of power for the aircraft compared with aviation kerosene. According to the head of Tesla, although aviation kerosene has a much higher energy density per unit volume, electric motors weigh much less and convert the stored energy into motion with higher efficiency than internal combustion engines. At the same time, the required energy density will be achieved by electric motors in the next 5 years. Musk also said that the systems usually used for vertical takeoff and landing are not generally suitable for high-speed flight. He believes that the energy in such devices should be used for altitude gain, and the gravity force of Earth should be used for flight and descent. We also believe in the future there will be more semi-polar envelopes that can take off and land vertically, while in the air they change their propeller positions and fly horizontally at higher speeds than classic drones. In an interview earlier this year, Elon Musk hinted that he would return to the idea of an electric aircraft once his other projects, such as cars and solar panels, reach their desired scale. After all transport will be electric except missiles, the entrepreneur said. So perhaps Abbott Davies' design will come in handy in the future. The concept has 3-channel propellers that can be used for vertical takeoff and landing, turbines with titanium blades, and a real propeller on cardan suspension to switch to direct flight mode. Smooth flight is provided by gyroscopic stabilization. 3 motors are powered by lithium-ion batteries and provide Perhaps Abbott Davies' design will come in handy in the future. The concept has 3-channel propellers that can be used for vertical takeoff and landing, turbines with titanium blades, and a real propeller on cardan suspension to switch to direct flight mode. Smooth flight is provided by gyroscopic stabilization. 3 motors are powered by lithium-ion batteries and provide distributed electrical traction, which means that in case of a failure, one of the parts, the aircraft can still safely land. A retractable landing gear is hidden beneath the carbon base. The aircraft has a magnesium fuselage, a titanium shell, and a panoramic window that provides a stunning view for a single passenger. While Musk is thinking about his new brainchild, many aircraft manufacturers and startups have already begun the implementation of the concepts of a flying passenger drone. Will Tesla Model 5 be like this? Hardly. Musk likes surprises, and if he decides to present his plane in 5 years, it will be something unexpected, like the Tesla Cybertruck. But the fact that the design of the plane will appear as soon as the entrepreneur's energy projects reach their right level is beyond any doubt. Browse our playlist about this brilliant engineer and PR guy in the link in the hint. Subscribe to the Pro Robots channel and don't miss any new videos. Tesla Model V.
An exponential. It comes as Pfizer announces its final vaccine results are even better than expected, 95% effective. The company applying for FDA authorization within days, plus the first at-home test approved. Is it a game changer? The major setback for the nation's largest school district, why New York City is shutting down in-person learning again. After 2 crashes that killed 346 people, Boeing 737 MAX now cleared to fly again. What to do if you're booked on one but don't feel safe flying. President Trump accused of a national security purge. New fallout after he fired the cybersecurity chief, whose agency called the election the most secure in American history. The Republicans now speaking out. President-elect Joe Biden's dire new warning about the vaccine rollout. The rush to get tested before Thanksgiving, could it give your family a false sense of security? And the surprise discovery right here in the iconic Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. This is in the iconic Rockefeller Center Christmas tree.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening, everyone. As we come on the air tonight, there are several major developments in the COVID pandemic crisis we need to tell you about, but none bigger than this number, 250,000. The number of people who, according to NBC News tracking, have now died in this country from the virus. Think about it, 250,000. And no amount of loss and suffering seems to be changing the trajectory. The White House task force painting an extraordinarily grim picture, warning of unrelenting spread and further deterioration. But there was more good news on the vaccine front today. We'll have more on that in a moment, but let's start with Miguel Almaguer.
As a record number of Americans remain hospitalized, there is no community or corner of our nation safe from the reach of the virus. Detailing the spread of COVID, these White House coronavirus task force maps, obtained by NBC News, show the explosive growth of the virus. Top officials warn current mitigation efforts are inadequate and must be increased to flatten the curve.
I think we need a uniform approach, not a disjointed, one state says one thing, the other state says another thing.
With more than half the nation implementing a mix of new restrictions, states like Florida are continuing to reopen. In South Dakota, with a soaring death rate, the governor still refuses to require face coverings.
I'm not in favor of mandating mask wearing. I don't believe that I have the authority to mandate that.
In neighboring Nebraska, nurses have publicly pled for the governor to implement a stronger mask mandate.
I've seen people more sick than I've ever seen in my life, and they just drop so fast.
And by nearly all accounts, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Some experts predict we could see upwards of 400,000 new infections a day.
But the most heartbreaking number is the death toll, 250,000 now gone.
I'm sorry.
Sandra Cornell lost her husband Efren, adored by his children.
He really loved us. We both really wanted to build a family.
Tonight, lives and dreams taken by the virus. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
And as we mentioned, on the same day we're seeing that staggering number, there is some reason for hope. Pfizer releasing new details on its vaccine, saying it's even more effective and safer than they thought. Stephanie Goss now on the push to get it approved.
The unrelenting virus may have met its match. Pfizer now says its vaccine is 95% effective and safe. The data just days away from being submitted to the FDA, where a vaccine advisory committee will decide whether it deserves emergency use authorization.
What we want to see at the vaccine advisory committee is all the data. I mean, because there are going to be unknowns here.
The promising results, according to Pfizer, come from the ongoing phase 3 trial. More than 41,000 participants of different ethnicities and ages, finding the vaccine was 94% effective in people 65 and older. There are also no serious safety concerns so far, although participants will be monitored for 2 years. In Philadelphia today, nurses protesting working conditions welcomed the vaccine news.
I'm sure frontline workers are going to be amongst the first to get it, so that's promising and exciting news for all of us.
Wide-scale distribution will take months. The vaccine, which requires 2 doses, needs to be kept at extremely low temperatures in special freezers or packed in dry ice, creating a logistical challenge. The Secretary of Health and Human Services says Operation Warp Speed is ready to start shipping within 24 hours of authorization. There is already a federal stockpile of Pfizer's vaccine, as well as a similarly developed vaccine from Moderna.
By the end of December, we expect to have about 40 million doses of these 2 vaccines available for distribution, pending FDA authorization, enough to vaccinate about 20 million of our most vulnerable.
Today, there was also news on the testing front. The FDA issuing emergency use authorization for an at-home test promising to be highly accurate. A do-it-yourself kit made by Lucira that gives results in 30 minutes. It will cost $50 and require a doctor's prescription. An important development, but officials say it is just a first step towards testing at home.
Well, Stephanie, as you know, when it comes to a vaccine, there is the issue of a skeptical public. What's being done to reassure?
But officials say it is just a first step towards testing at home.
Well, Stephanie, as you know, when it comes to a vaccine, there is the issue of a skeptical public. What's being done to reassure folks?
Well, Lester, it's certainly a concern. Governors in several states say they're setting up independent committees to analyze the data for if and when there's authorization. This is an attempt to shore up that public confidence. Lester?
Stephanie Goss tonight. Stephanie, thank you. And with
გამარჯობა, მე ვარ ნატალია, ვარ 7 წლის და მჭირს ოსტეო სარკომა. მე პირველ
With the virus surging in 50 states, that White House task force report shows much of the Midwest in the red zone, seeing unyielding and exponential spread, especially in Iowa. Ed Gutierrez is there.
In Iowa, today the positivity rate reached an astounding 41%, and the state reported 40 more deaths, a record. This is an inside look at the University of Iowa Hospital in Iowa City, where COVID patient Jamie Humes had been on advanced life support for 30 days.
I would say the hardest part was being on all those machines, so many wires, so many tubes.
She's in her 40s with no underlying medical conditions.
I fought a physical and emotional battle, but my family fought a huge emotional battle.
Earlier this year, Iowa's governor had dismissed mask mandates as feel-good measures. This week, she reversed course.
When you're in an indoor public space and unable to social distance for 15 minutes or longer, masks are required to be worn.
Still, some healthcare workers say the new restrictions don't go far enough.
I'm worried that a partial mask mandate is a little bit too little, too late. And so, I just wish it was more.
This was the moment when Jamie Humes was able to go outside and feel the sun for the first time in months.
Nobody's invincible. I took precautions, did everything I thought was right, wore a mask in public, did all those things, and I still got it.
Here in Des Moines, the ICUs at several hospitals, including this one, are full. Lester?
All right, Gabe Gutierrez, thank you. And Dr. John Torres joins me now. Dr. John, the current surge simply didn't have to happen. It's very grim. And I know the vaccine is coming. What do we do now to stop the surge?
Lester, you're right. We could have avoided the alarmingly high number of cases we're seeing had we all taken measures earlier to keep it under control. It basically comes down to human behavior. We all need to follow the 3 W's. Wear a mask, watch your distance, wash your hands, along with avoiding large groups.
Если иммунитет в силах победить там это, то есть тебе деваться некуда, вирус этот, говорят, что ты понял. Значит, надо себя тренировать каким-то, не знаю, внутренним способом. Морально, значит, убеждать, может быть, может, там, не знаю, да, то есть находить какую-то связь с вот этими штучками, которые, да, которые как бы все у тебя там находятся, они как-то, он тебя понял, да, то есть тренироваться надо, значит, да? Почему ты плохо думаешь, что ты пессимист, например, какие у тебя там мнения застряли, что там, я примеру говорю, да. По-моему, это работает, знаешь, у меня когда зубы болели, как-то так вот, очень интересно она работает, да. Вот у тебя зуб болит, да, и ты как бы находишься какой-то то ли в растерянности, то ли там в ярости, то ли еще что-нибудь, да. И раз, то есть как-то так, да, раз, типа того. Ну вот как вот, кстати, собака поскулила, да, там что-нибудь там, например. Ну, это как вариант. Там, наверное, ну да. Я не знаю точно, я тебе примеров говорю, да. Что я просто убежден, что иначе нет, если у всех иммунитет есть, у тебя такое оружие, понимаешь? Не то что оружие, а просто это, ну вот гость пришел к тебе, таракан в гости, что ты с ним будешь делать? Ну, а он не убивается, вот он живет тут и размножается, как бы, вроде, и право имеет такое природу, типа того. И он говорит, да, и откуда ты знаешь, что ему надо? Ну, нет, к примеру, это объясняю. Ну да. Это ненормально. Не жужелиц не должно, по идее, так вот, я тоже так считаю. Плохо построенный дом, плохаги и бла-бла-бла. Возможно, это не суть разговора, я тебе просто говорю, а что ты вот будешь делать? Да, просто будешь, так сказать, вот шли вирусы, что-нибудь, просто тренироваться, чтобы они, не знаю, служить тебе будут сами, свои жизни жить, какие-то там, и так далее. Ну, если вот так вот, никаких больше вариантов не было никогда, я понял. Да, иначе умри. Не живи тогда и все, да, я понял. Ну а как? Ну ничего, ничего. Ну, ты понял, да? Можно много чего натренировать, понимаешь? Наверное. То есть там не даже там эти всякие примеры говорить, даже просто примеры эти говорю. Как вот да. Не подвергай там себя подходить, надо уже понял. Ну это только лишь фрагмент, наверное, да. Меня тоже это раздражает. Какого хрена вообще? Может вообще должоком ходить, и там должно быть нормально типа того, да. Не, это так.
We especially need to follow this if indoors, even with a small group of people. If we do these things, we can get these numbers more under control as we wait for the vaccine to help end the pandemic. Lester?
We can all make an impact here. Dr. John, thanks. A new setback here in New York, which is shutting down the schools again as cases in the city climb. But it's controversial, with schools considered relatively safe and bars and restaurants remaining open. NBC's Rahima Ellis has that story.
Tonight, the largest school district in the country announced New York City classrooms will shut down again, starting tomorrow morning.
I think. Да. И не только, понимаешь? Ну да. Нет, подспудно, понимаешь, ты в детстве, может, так испугал, и ты ходишь всю жизнь, брешь какая-то, да? Ну да, к примеру. Ну да, ну не живи тогда, понимаешь, такой опции нет, понимаешь? Идешь, живи, и всех хотят жить. Никто не хочет, как бы, да.
Safety first. With 3% of COVID tests across the city coming back positive, the mayor says that's the threshold for all public schools to go remote, even though schools are testing at a much lower rate. For now, bars and restaurants will remain open.
We set a very clear standard, and we need to stick to that standard.
They need to close bars and restaurants before they close schools.
Some teachers are concerned too.
How do you think the shutdown will affect your students?
Well, the kids that are coming into the building for blended learning will be frustrated, and they come to the school building because they need one-on-one support.
In some other big cities across the country, families face similar challenges. Schools are closed in Los Angeles, Boston, and Detroit, while restaurants and gyms are open with restrictions. Back in New York,
I want to see my friends more. Yeah.
Some families are disappointed.
I can't do much of the things that I used to do. It's all about the kids now.
Tonight, parents scrambling to figure out how their children will learn from home. Rahima Ellis, NBC News, New York.
Now to that big announcement by the FAA today, lifting the order that grounded the Boeing 737 MAX for almost 2 years after 346 people were killed in 2 crashes. NBC's Tom Costello and what you need to know.
Today's FAA order means airlines can start getting their sealed-up 737 MAXs back up and running again. 800 planes grounded since 2 fatal crashes overseas killed 346 people. Multiple investigations found a software problem put both planes into fatal nosedives. The pilots failed to react properly, Boeing made serious design errors, and the FAA failed to oversee design and manufacturing. After personally test flying the re-engineered MAX, the FAA chief today said the plane is safe to fly.
I would put my own family on it. I plan to fly on it myself.
And, says Dixon, the FAA will no longer allow Boeing to fully self-regulate.
Brakes coming down.
Now airlines have a long checklist of mandatory upgrades. To get the 737 MAX flying again, maintenance technicians will have to download a software update. That can be done with a laptop. The FAA also ordering wiring bundles moved, and every pilot must go through simulator training again. Boeing says it will honor the victims by holding close the hard lessons learned from this chapter to ensure accidents like these never happen again.
I still set some time aside to grieve.
Brittany Riffle was 7 months pregnant when her husband Melvin and his brother Bennett died in the Ethiopian crash. 18-month-old Emma has never met her dad.
I will never in my life get on a Boeing MAX 8, ever. And probably not even any other plane that they produce from here on.
And Tom joins us now. Tom, how soon might we see U.S. carriers fly the MAX with passengers?
Yeah, American at the end of the year, United and Southwest next year. But if you don't want to fly on a MAX, you can get rebooked, no charges.
Tom Costello tonight. Thanks. President Trump facing growing backlash after firing the cybersecurity official who disputed his false claims of election fraud. Peter Alexander has the latest.
First the firing, now the fallout. Tonight, several Republicans, among those sharply criticizing President Trump's abrupt termination of a top cybersecurity official who disputed the president's baseless claims that the election was stolen from him.
I disagree vehemently with his firing.
There's like a loyalty purge going on in the last month in the White House.
Chris Krebs, a Trump appointee responsible for safeguarding the election, just last week declared it the most secure in American history.
Tonight, the grim milestone in the coronavirus crisis.
PCR is the gold standard.
To your family, when to get tested, and could it give
voter fraud in the state of Georgia?
And in Michigan,
loyalty purge going on in the last month in the White House.
Chris Krebs, a Trump appointee responsible for safeguarding the election, just last week declared it the most secure in American history, stating there's no evidence any votes were deleted or changed. Standing by his statement even after his firing, tweeting, "Honored to serve, we did it right." The president falsely bashing Krebs' initial assessment as highly inaccurate.
It seems like a partisan attempt to just hit back at the president as he pursues important litigation.
But some warning of consequences from the president's move.
It just undermines trust and confidence of the American people in their government. And that's something that's really, really destructive.
President Trump and his campaign still pursuing legal challenges in key states. Today paying for a partial recount in Wisconsin, seen as a long shot, with Joe Biden's lead more than 20,000 votes. In Georgia, a recount is already underway, with 3 counties only now discovering thousands of uncounted ballots. Biden's lead there narrowing to 12,000 votes.
It is inaccurate to say that there's widespread voter fraud in the state of Georgia.
And in Michigan, Republican election officials in Wayne County, home to Detroit, tried to block Biden's win from being certified, going against the will of the voters. The president praising it as a beautiful thing before the county board, after public backlash, voted again, reversing its decision. Biden leads in Michigan by more than 146,000 votes.
At the end of the day, the will of the people will be respected, and Joe Biden won Michigan.
And tonight, President-elect Biden says the Trump administration's refusal to give his team access to critical information could delay distribution of COVID vaccines by weeks or months. Lester?
Peter Alexander at the White House, thank you. In just 60 seconds, with 8 days until Thanksgiving, should you get tested before you see your family? When to get tested, and could it give you a false sense of security? We'll tell you what the experts say tonight. Back now with so many Americans rushing to get a COVID test before gathering next week for Thanksgiving. But experts are warning it's no guarantee that your family is safe. Let's get more on that from Vicki Wynn.
The CDC classifies Thanksgiving gatherings as higher risk, so many are taking precautions ahead of time. So if I'm going to get tested, what is the absolute best time to do it?
Well, look and see how long it takes to get the results back. If it's 2 days, then get tested 2 days before Thanksgiving.
But it's not foolproof.
That negative test result does not give you a free pass.
Here's why. If you get tested 5 days after being exposed, you may test negative. 3 days later at that family gathering, you could be pre-symptomatic but contagious and not feel sick until days later, still inside that 14-day incubation period. There's also the possibility of being exposed between that negative test and arriving at your destination.
That test result is a snapshot in time. That's that 1 day you're negative. You could be positive the next day.
As far as the different tests, the PCR is the gold standard. It's more accurate, but results take longer. Some rapid antigen tests can get you answers in 15 minutes, but they have a higher rate of false negatives.
Testing by itself is not going to be enough, no matter what your test result is.
We are about a week out from Thanksgiving. Is it too late to quarantine?
Any amount of time you can quarantine is better than none.
Even with a negative test, you should still wear a mask, keep your distance, and open windows if you're gathering this year. Vicki Wynn, NBC News.
Up next for us, staying healthy, how doctors say you might be able to boost your immune system as we head into winter. From COVID to the flu to the common cold, doctors say it's more important than ever to keep your immune system in top shape heading into winter. Here's Aaron McLaughlin.
This winter, with COVID-19 sweeping the country, doctors say nutrition has never been more important.
Step it up, especially this winter when even mild deficiencies could really put you at greater risk.
The CDC says 9 out of 10 adults don't eat enough nutrient-rich foods each day. Nutrients like vitamin C. The body can't store it, so it has to be consumed regularly. Top sources include oranges, bell peppers, and broccoli. Studies show not getting enough vitamin C could leave you vulnerable to respiratory infections. Also critical, zinc, found in meat, shellfish, nuts, and seeds. A recent study links lack of zinc to longer COVID-19 hospitalizations and higher death rates. Experts say vitamin D is the one thing many of us need more of to keep our immune system strong. It's difficult to get enough through food. Our bodies produce it when exposed to the sun.
We're not going outside as much because of social distancing and quarantine, so it really is very important to supplement with vitamin.
Пальмы там зима в разгаре. Пальма запотела. Дополнительных детей. Регионская Сречься завтра пешком этим. Нет, не надо. А, туда к ним сходить. Что, меня возьмешь? Ну нет, не давай. Я тебе стопудово верю, если ты не будешь свою фотку показывать их там, да. Да, конечно, кто, ну а что твоя проблема? Ну да, слабослышащий. А что будет? Ничего не будет. Нам писали, говорит, что вроде бы надо. Наоборот. Нет, наоборот. Вождение, что ты говоришь. Мои рога, мои повязки. Вот да, это так вот, да. Серьезно, добавил просто. Вот это я имел. Что я не... Гиду сделанное. Не надо. Новая попытка анкеты не надо. Чок. Поедет, поедет. Нет, ты неужели, как ты такой странный человек? Надо хотя бы один из трех вещей иметь полосы. Кошачий фут, думаешь? Кошка, фут. Хорош. Чё? Так, что там? Чё? Надо кофе пить, нет? Заварить, нет? Я поставлю, если не будет. Чё, электричество добились тебя. 40. 5 бат, 40. Чей номер там? Но все равно как-то, да. Мы же их едим, понимаешь? Мы их используем, дерево уже есть, здесь дерево. Там это четко фрукты, вешать, пластмасса даже там, краска, жучки там, влажные. Нет, даже, ну ты понял, короче. Короче, пластмасса там. То есть надо как-то нормально, как-то лучше, чтобы было. Но все равно не суетить.